everybody, and welcome back to the questions where you have the questions and I have the answers. And today we're going to talk about the 9th and 10th Amendment, which means that anything that is not explicitly stated in the Constitution or any subsequent amendments can be decided by the people and by the state. And what that means is that anything that's not explicitly stated in the Constitution or the amendments can be either added by bills proposed by the people, added later on, or they can be decided by a state-by-state basis and not added to the federal Constitution. That was a lot of information, so let's break it down. What does that mean? So basically, the Constitution is a document outlining how the United States government works. It explains the whole system of checks and balances. Congress decides the laws, the president enforces the laws, and the judicial system, Supreme Court, decides whether the laws are fair. And each kind of state and city and county has their own version of that system, on just smaller scales. But the thing is, when we were making the Constitution, in order to get it ratified, you had to have a certain number of states agree to ratify it. But a lot of the reason the states didn't do that is because even though it outlined how the country would be run, it didn't actually outline what the laws were. It's like going to school and being like, hey, the principal decides what the dress code is, and they don't tell you what the actual dress code is. And that's what the amendments were supposed to do, is tell you explicitly what the laws were. However, there are so many things that you could make into laws, and so many decisions and so many things that happen in a society and in a country, you can't just list all of them, because you'd be listing things forever and ever and ever. So, the 19th Amendment was saying, basically, whatever isn't listed can be decided by you to either be added to this list or to be part of your own little mini state government. And where do we see examples of this? Well, the added amendments after these first 10, because there are 27 current amendments when there used to be 10. And each new amendment is an example of the 9th Amendment. Same thing with any bill or act passed by Congress, which was originally proposed by people. The stimulus checks are an example. There's no law saying you have to be doing these things, but this was a new bill and new law proposed to do this thing. Any of the policing acts that were passed after George Floyd's death, those are an example of the 9th Amendment. An example of the 10th Amendment, which is the state-by-state basis, is how women got the right to vote, which is basically each state decided that women should have the right to vote in that state until eventually it was decided federally that women should have the right to vote. Same thing with the decriminalization of drugs and legalization of marijuana. Oregon has decriminalized drugs. Washington State legalized weed. So have a bunch of other states, but it is not the law federally that weed is legal and that other drugs are decriminalized. It's only a state-by-state thing. It's not the federal law. That is an example of the 10th Amendment because these laws only apply to the states, but not federally. Which is a bit complicated when you're trying to figure out what the laws are from one state to the other. Because they basically operate like little mini countries within one big country. I hope this made a lot of sense, and now you know a bit more about the Bill of Rights, and we'll be continuing on to the rest of the amendments because they're all very important, especially once we get to a lot of the more modern ones. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Have an excellent day, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.